to offer up their under business records affidavit, but I do believe that the defense will have an objection to them.
What numbers are those?
They're going to be State's Exhibit number 400, 401, and 402.
And exactly what are they?
State's Exhibit number 400 is applicant process unit records from the Dallas Police Department related to the defendant, and it was tendered to the defense attorney in under business records affidavit on August 9, 2019. Applicant process unit records. These are going to be the application file from the defendant's first attempt to apply to the Dallas Police Department.
You said her first attempt to apply?
That's correct, Your Honor. There were two. She applied multiple times.
And 401?
401, Your Honor, is going to be the defendant's personnel file, and this contains, again, also under business records affidavit that was tendered to the defense on August 9, 2019. And this file
from Amber Guyger's family as well, as they hope to keep her prison sentence to a shorter length.
We know in general how this is going to go, but we'll have to see how this unfolds this afternoon. But as you mentioned, Bianca, we will hear from a number of people from both sides trying to sway the jury as they make this decision about how long Amber Guyger should spend behind bars. 5 to 99 years. Those are the guidelines for this murder verdict.
Yeah, and during this trial, the jury knew that it would have three options: whether to find her guilty of manslaughter, find her guilty of murder, or find her not guilty. The jury decided after 6 hours of deliberation that she should be convicted of murder. That verdict coming down again at around 10:30 this morning. Guyger, now 31 years old, fatally shot 26-year-old Botham John in his apartment last year, in September of last year. And during the trial, we heard her testify that she mistook his apartment for her own. She thought John was a burglar. She lives directly below Botham John. And now she's going into the sentencing phase of her trial. And we do know that here in the state of Texas, murder does carry a sentence of between 5 to 99 years or life in prison. And this charge is not eligible for probation.
Yeah, we expect to see some other pieces of evidence presented in this punishment phase of the trial. There is no limit on how long this could go. This could go short, this could go long. We'll just have to see how this unfolds. This video you're looking at, this is Amber Guyger entering court.
This trial lasted not very long. The deliberations only took 6 hours, which surprised a lot of people who've been watching this case unfold. As we look live into the courtroom, the judge has asked members in the court to stand up. We do not see Amber Guyger in the seat where she was sitting earlier this morning. We do expect her to be present during the sentencing phase. Again, this is just procedural items that they're going through right now inside the judge's chambers.
It was a rather dramatic moment this morning when that verdict was read in the courtroom. There was an audible gasp that you could hear. There was a cheer. The judge admonished people, saying no reaction in the courtroom when this verdict was read. Amber Guyger sat alone. And she was obviously weeping when this verdict was read. We have not heard any reaction from the prosecution or the defense. That's because there was a gag order in this case. They cannot talk until this is over. And look at this photograph. This is from Tom Fox from the Dallas Morning News. That is Allison John, Botham John's mother, obviously very, very relieved that Amber Guyger was convicted of murder in this case.
This was a very emotional trial on both sides. The defendant's family there in the courtroom as well. And as that verdict was read, you could see Guyger's mother there breaking down in tears as she sat behind her daughter, now convicted of murder. But Allison John there in the courtroom, many of the family members of Botham John have been in the courtroom through this trial, and we do understand that they will take the stand during the sentencing phase.
Yeah, this case has, of course, received a lot of national attention. People focused on this issue of, whether or not Amber Guyger, as a police officer, whether or not she committed murder, manslaughter, or was not guilty of any crime. We heard some testimony during this trial from the head Texas Ranger in this investigation that he thought that there was no crime committed here. So a lot of people were very surprised when this was murder. I think a lot of people were expecting manslaughter, but we got a murder verdict here. So, and on social media, we've been watching this as well. There's been a lot of discussion, a lot of people happy with this verdict, a lot of people very unhappy with this verdict.
Okay, so we're going to continue to watch what happens here in the courtroom. We do know that the sentencing phase is now underway. This could take the rest of the day. This could go into tomorrow. We just don't know, but we will watch this for you right now. And if you would like to watch this right now, you can head over to our app and our website. We have the live stream there for you right now. But again, we're going to watch this and we will break in as we have further updates.
And of course, we'll have the very latest on NBC5 first at 4. For now, we'll return you to regular programming.
I found the Fort Worth reference where she is asked, have you ever applied with any law enforcement agency or fire department or related work, including cadet or explorer? And the answer was yes. And then it asked for the date, position, and disposition. And she indicates that she applied to the Fort Worth Police Department and was denied to be a police officer. And there was another application to the DFW Airport Police, although it doesn't indicate a disposition.
And that's correct, Your Honor. There are no references in here to any. Oh, here. Have you ever smoked or experimented with marijuana? The answer is yes, on 3 occasions, beginning in July of 2009 and ending in June of 2011. Supplemental concerning the drug usage, where there's an indication that it was never purchased by her or never possessed more than 4 ounces. First time she was right out of high school with friends, and then allegedly 2 times in 2011 at someone's birthday, a friend's birthday. And this was completed on August 23rd of 2012. That's correct, Your Honor.
And Mr. Rogers, your objections to 400?
Just her admission that she was denied by the Fort Worth Police Department is not relevant. It's more prejudicial than probative. Her admission of marijuana usage and the subsequent discussion of that in the application process, again, is not relevant and more prejudicial than probative.
let's look at 401.
Yes, Your Honor, that's the personnel file. And the state, I know it's quite voluminous, Your Honor, and the state, in order to not create a situation, especially in regards to the polygraph, the state, as far as 401, there is a page in there that mentions the defendant's social media accounts where the defendant self-reported which account she had and the names of those accounts. If that is the only page of state's 401 that the court would allow, the state is fine with that.
Okay, so just so we're clear, allegedly this exhibit,
State's 401.
401, contains 334 pages.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And there are a host of flags that you...
That's correct, Your Honor. And I can point out exactly which one is the social media if the court would like.
Well, I see you have a
Tag
tag
that
in your
says-
social media, and I'm presuming that the city of Dallas did the redaction of the
Yes, Your Honor.
identifying information.
That is correct.
Place it first. Okay, so where you have social accounts, are all of the pages subsequent to this, how many pages?
No, Your Honor, just that page itself. Where
Just
it
this
lists-
one page
Where it lists down here.
where it lists Pinterest,
That's correct.
Groupon,
That's correct.
and is there Score Center?
That's correct. And the usernames for those different accounts.
Of this entire personnel file, you want this one page? Have you,
There's more information in there, but I believe, as the defense has mentioned, that there are some objections to other things, and including, more specifically, there was the polygraph that the defendant, that's listed within that state's 401. The relevance or the purpose for the polygraph is that the defendant failed her first polygraph, but that, of course, was related in connection to the usage or the recency of usage, amongst other things.
so the examiner asked the question if, I think it was 2011 was the last time you used, let me just make sure of the date. If your last marijuana usage was 2011 in June, is that the question that she failed on the polygraph?
It's that in subsequent, so there's two polygraphs, there's different dates given, different time frames that are given, and then maybe some mentioning of any other sort of, I guess, crimes that may have been committed.
In the polygraph? That were not identified on this application?
That's correct, there aren't any crimes at all, Your Honor, but it's just self-admissions and self-reporting to.
Did the examiner elicit what the crimes were?
Yes, it was self-reported, Your Honor.
What-
And it wasn't actually, so we're discussing a theft that occurred at her prior business location. She worked at TGI Fridays.
She admitted she stole or took a pencil and a brownie without permission.
And so those things were what led to the issues with the polygraph.
A pencil and a brown.
That's correct, Your Honor, and the state's not wanting to admit, not
So
wanting
you're
to
not-
get into any of that. That's correct.
Well, let me be clear. You want to proffer that she failed the polygraph, but you don't want to say it was for the theft of a brownie and a pencil?
Well, if the court will allow such things, then the state can, but we don't think that that's really a pressing issue.
Okay. It's hard for me to line up with this polygraph. What are the pressing issues from?
Those were the only things with the polygraph, Your Honor, in the personnel file.
Okay. And you want this single page that identifies 3 social media outlets?
Yes, Your Honor, that's correct.
Score Center, Groupon, and Pinterest.
That's correct.
Mr. Rogers.
With regard to the, I'm kind of unclear, but if we're,
I haven't made decisions,
Right.
I'm inquiring, trying to understand the
if
scope.
she's just offering one page from the personnel file that you just identified that has the 3 social media accounts, then I don't have an objection to that.
To that portion of her personnel
To
file.
have one page.
No objection to the one page identifying the social media.
That's correct, Your Honor.
That's all you want out of this personnel file.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, well, save me some time in reading all of this. Oh. State's Exhibit 402.
State's Exhibit 402, Your Honor, is also from the Dallas Police Department under Business Records Affidavit, dated for August 9, 2019, and this is the Internal Affairs Division file related to the defendant. And particularly within this file, the state would like to admit before the jury the sustained allegations against the defendant based on departmental violations.
You have those flagged because this is another voluminous exhibit that
Yes, Your Honor, I can tell you exactly what there was. There's control number 2018-183.
hold on, you have some tabs here as well,
Yes,
but they're not marked as they were in the first one.
that's correct.
Is the blue one significant? Oh, you got pink, blue?
Yes,
and
they're just
green.
different, yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, let me just go to the first pink tab. Are you there? Oh, well.
I am. I was gonna say, if it's okay for the court, I can direct you to the ones exactly, because they should be listed in, okay. The first one, Your Honor, is going to be the defendant received a sustained finding through an internal affairs investigation for adverse conduct, violating Dallas Police Department Code of Conduct, and it's gonna be under control number 2018-183,
Okay.
which should have a date of September 24, 2018.
Yes.
And this
I'm
is the
there.
control number that resulted in the defendant's termination of employment with the Dallas Police Department.
I'm sorry, restate that again.
This control number and violation is directly resulted in the defendant's termination of employment from the Dallas Police Department.
This one, which identifies, all I have on here is January 11, 2017 DVR program violation.
And that's another one, Your Honor.
Counseling. September 25th, 2017, a chase policy violation.
And that's another one, Your Honor.
Okay. So I get, you mean the page behind?
That's
this
correct,
page?
yes,
Okay.
Your Honor.
I'm sorry, but I'm failing to see. So here's the first pink
Yes.
tab up to the next green tab.
And there, and that's why I said I can give you the list of the dates, because the way that we received it from the police department. helpful for the court to have the dates so that you can pull those out.
Well, I want to know exactly what it is from
Okay.
this that you wish to put in the evidence. So, Mr. Rogers can be well informed and make objections he'd like. Rogers, you have a copy of the disciplinary action that took place on September 24th, 2018,
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
and your objections to that?
Yes, Your Honor. With regard to investigation control number 2018-183, the report contains actions completed by other officers and reports of officers that is hearsay within hearsay. The report also contains Garrity information derived by my client that normally the district attorney's office has redacted, but in this case, there's a page there's a part of the investigation which says what Amber Guyger summarizes Amber Guyger's internal statement. That's a violation of Garrity v. New Jersey.
Wait a minute, I haven't seen this.
The Garrity information.
I
It's
haven't
been
read
redacted.
every document she just handed me for this investigation, but I have not seen the Garrity information as of yet.
Garrity information has been redacted from the state's file, just so that the record's clear. The defense received the full file.
Just see what they offered.
first section she gave me, I've gone through. I haven't gone through the second section, but in the first section, I didn't see any guarantee.
Judge, under investigation, it says officer testimony. It's a summary of her internal statement.
I don't see any officer testimony.
It says, Judge, it says officer testimony.
I know that's what it says, but it just lists, it just states September 9th, Officer Guyger was placed under arrest in Kaufman County by the Texas Rangers and booked into the Kaufman County Jail for the charge of manslaughter.
Right.
That's the sum total of officer testimony.
Right. That's my client's statement. That's the internal statement provided by Amber Guyger on whatever date that was.
This is her statement. She said to them, I was arrested.
Right.
You don't think they could have found this information from some other source?
I know they could have.
There's not a reference
To any statements that are made.
except for this heading.
Well, Judge, I can, normally they redact that because that is the investigator's submission of a summary of Officer Guyger's internal statement. Whether they could get it, of course they could get it from other sources, but they included it in there, and that is a violation of Garrity v. New Jersey. The statement that she gave was she was told that that statement, nor the fruits of that statement, could be used against her in any criminal proceeding.
I don't understand how this is her statement. It is literally a factual recitation of what happened on September 9th, 2018.
Right, Judge. They asked her to give an internal statement asking her if she was arrested. They gave her the Garrity warning, and she gave a statement admitting that she was arrested.
Judge, and the state doesn't, defense attorney is correct that typically, and as is followed in this case, for public integrity, the file is redacted of Garrity. Neither have any of the prosecution teams seen any Garrity statements made by the defendant. I couldn't even tell you what was in a statement, let alone, I guess, if there was in fact one.
Judge, that is a summary of her internal statement. I know it's short, but it's in there. And
I'm having a hard time grasping that this is testimonial or provided subject to interrogation, because it just states on a date certain she was arrested in Kaufman County by the Texas Rangers and booked into the Kaufman County Jail.
right above that, Judge, it says
I see the heading.
officer testimony.
It says investigation, officer testimony. So you want to object to this paragraph where they summarize what allegedly happened on September 9th.
They are
Categorizing that as her officer
the
testimony.
way they write those investigations, Judge, and I've seen hundreds of them, is they're going to say here's what the officer testimony is related to this. The only officer testimony in this case was Amber Guyger's, and they put her statement in their summary. That regardless of what information is in there, it still is a violation of Garrity v. New Jersey. And Judge, we don't have the actual investigator here. I think it was Sergeant Criddle here to explain the context of the investigation. Furthermore, it contains, hearsay, the booking. Well, are you offering this?
No.
So
I'm presuming you want these 1, 2, 3. 4, 5.
fired because she was arrested for manslaughter. And so we don't.
There's another page that says essentially that.
I guess, for your honor, If the defense is concerned with these documents going before the jury and actually being taken back, the state will withdraw State's Exhibit number 402 out of an abundance of caution. But what the state would like to do is still talk about the pages that list whether or not there was a sustained finding for an allegation. That is a one-page that looks like
It is one page.
it's a one-pager. There's no other information. It just states what the violation was and whether the allegation was sustained or not. Like this right here. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, Judge.
Well, so this is the statement of Major Ramirez with his findings with internal affairs. And so the information gleaned in here, one is that it implies that there was some type of investigation into this adverse conduct, and that it leaves open. We don't know what Major Ramirez's thoughts are.
Let me see that first portion that you provided to me.
And also, it's just the fact that there was a warrant. We know she was arrested. The fact that there was a warrant for manslaughter and that she was put into the Kaufman County Jail. The ranger has already testified in response to whether or not he believes today there's probable cause for that same offense. And the findings of Major Ramirez are hearsay, and the actual conduct and acts that it's talking about are the fact that she was arrested for manslaughter and booked into the Kaufman County Jail, and that's more prejudicial than probative.
Or here is so you allege that part of the administrative investigation included testimonial evidence from Ms. Guyger. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Would this be sufficient that this portion here that begins, as a result of her actions, Officer Guyger shall be held accountable for the following rule violation. And then they state the code of conduct violation, and then their findings. So in essence, these last two paragraphs, this sentence, and that doesn't have any testimonial or alleged. I have the rest of this. I was reading through it, and there are references to testimonial evidence. If you take the last paragraphs from that page, I guess you need to redact whatever else is preceding that. And what are your objections to the portions that I've excised?
Judge, I object that these are the findings of Major Ramirez with the Dallas Police Department. So it's hearsay within hearsay. And so we don't have the context of the alleged rule violation, what he considered, and
But the rule is concisely stated there.
right.
In essence, I can't quote it verbatim, but I think it's conduct that reflects negatively on the department.
Right.
Words to that effect.
Right, and part of his,
And it just goes on to state, you've been arrested for the offense of manslaughter. And that's conduct that is unbecoming to the department. And as a result of that, being terminated.
it's a conclusion made by Major Ramirez that it's hearsay within hearsay, and it violates the confrontation clause, and I don't have the ability to cross-examine Major Ramirez on the context of the rule violation and elicit testimony regarding that. Additionally, it is not relevant, the fact that she was fired from her job. We're not trying to say that she's still a police officer. The fact that she was arrested for manslaughter and booked into Kaufman County Jail is more prejudicial than probative unless I have the opportunity to call the ranger and respond.
And Judge,
Wait a
again,
minute, wait. Everybody that faces a felony indictment somewhere along the way is arrested.
Right.
So your argument that that's prejudicial, more prejudicial than probative, is overruled. Now, I've tried to excise out all references to any testimony. The portion that I have directed you all to simply states what the rule is and what the finding is.
right.
Your objection to that will be overruled
Well,
in as
Judge-
much as that is part of the business records affidavit that accompanies 402. Is there something else
Nothing
in
else.
that big old stack of stuff?
Nothing else, Your
So,
Honor. That the
We
state would
have
plan.
fought for a half hour about the fact as to whether or not Ms. Guyger was terminated, but I want to make sure I didn't rule on the application process. And I thought I was writing down your objections to 400. I don't think I did. Let me go back. As to 402, your objection that that's too prejudicial is overruled. The excise portion, I'm asking you to redact.
Yes, Your Honor.
And just so we're clear, you know what I'm talking about,
Yes, Your
Mr.
Honor.
Roger?
Yes, ma'am.
At the very bottom?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So you'll redact that.
Yes, Your Honor.
That will be admitted as to 402. 401, you have no objections to the social media accounts page. It identifies some other things, but the pertinent identifying information has been redacted.
Right, so just that one page,
And
correct?
did you take a look at that one that we're talking about?
Right.
Just so you can see it.
I don't know where.
I'm good with that, Judge.
Well,
I mean, I've seen it.
Anyway, and back to the initial application. Now, the initial application, you indicate that our application was denied for a multitude of reasons. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And
Or
this-
at least it just states that on.
I don't think they give a reason.
No, the defendant self-reported denied at Fort Worth, and then that was her first time with Dallas Police Department. She was not accepted at that time.
Do they have rules that tell you?
They not specifically, no, Your Honor. The only other thing listed in that would be the marijuana usage.
And Mr. Rogers, I thought I had written down your objections to the first application denial.
There's the fact that she was denied by Fort Worth PD is more prejudicial, is not relevant, and it's more prejudicial than probative. And the marijuana usage is not relevant and more prejudicial than probative.
And the state's response, Your Honor, is that this is punishment-based. The trier of fact can consider all information. I think especially in guilt innocence that there was discussions about our victims' marijuana usage.
I'm going to allow you to use states 400. Your objections are overruled. Okay, I'm sorry. I know you all came in here and waited at 1 o'clock thinking we would have started right at that time. I wish we would have. Does anybody need a bathroom break? Because we're going to go until you all are done. Well, I mean, any of the attorneys. Okay, great. Let me ask her to, let me get her. Exhibit redacted.
No, Judge, just 1 second, because if we're gonna keep going, we wanna make sure we get all this objections to the other evidence before we start.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
I'm sorry, you said the objections were what? I'm sorry.
Judge, one, that's a different account name than is the social media that identified on the state's exhibit as one of her social media accounts. So, Judge, I object that they can't link it to a post actually made by my client to they can authenticate that those comments were actually posted by Ms. Guyger, that anybody could have posted to that. There's nothing unique about other people have access to your page, and so I think they need to show with certainty from forensic evidence that is tied to that there's no other way that anyone else could have posted that under that name. And three, it's more prejudicial than probative.
Can I see State's Exhibit 401, page?
And Your Honor, my response to that is those documents were actually pulled off of the defendant's Pinterest account via search warrant by Reisch and had been tendered to defense counsel in discovery a long time ago. You have to go through and really look at what's on that. Go through the search warrant return to find what's in there. There were almost 1,000 or so images on that return, and we're only asking to offer 3.
So just so I'm clear, you all got a search warrant to search for the contents of Ms. Guyger's Pinterest account.
Yes, Your Honor.
And these are things that Ms. Guyger saved to her account.
Yes, Your Honor.
And they were provided to the defense. Did you
Yes,
receive
yes,
them
Your
as
Honor.
part
Yes.
of your discovery?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you object that they're prejudicial.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your objection is overruled.
And then last, Your Honor, the state would like to re-offer, and I think we've renumbered them, were text messages that were discussing guilt innocence, which we marked as states 353, 354, and 355. The court at that time would not allow us
Is
to.
this the MLK and
Yes, Your Honor.
let me make sure I read these. Objections to 353, 354, 355, and 356.
Approach, Your Honor.
Yes.
Other individuals within that exhibit so I would object to those statements that other individuals made as hearsay, and the text responses from Ms. Guyger are not relevant and more prejudicial than probative. .354, Judge, again, there are texts that are coming into the phone that are hearsay, and any responses by Ms. Guyger with her phone, these text messages are not relevant and more prejudicial than probative. The probative value in both those exhibits is substantially outweighed by the prejudicial effect. In State Exhibit 355, the hearsay statement from Martin Rivera we would object to, and the response by Ms. Guyger is not relevant, and its probative value, if any, is substantially outweighed by its prejudicial value. In State's Exhibit 356, there are hearsay text messages from Martin Rivera, and the text responses from Ms. Guyger are not relevant, and the prejudicial value, the probative value is substantially outweighed by the prejudicial value.
Ms. Long?
Your Honor, the statements made by the defendant are statements made by the defendant therefore are not hearsay, and they are relevant because the jury can consider any statements that they may consider relevant to determining the appropriate punishment in the trial. As far as the statements made by the other individuals on the phone, those statements are not being offered for the truth of the matter asserted.
Your objections to 353 through 356 are overruled. They'll be at minutes. Does anybody need a bathroom break? Sorry. Thank you. You all may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. Will the state make an opening statement as we begin the punishment phase?
No, Your Honor.
You may call your first witness.
State calls Ms. Allison Johnson.
Thank you. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I affirm.
Thank you. Please make yourself comfortable.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Oh, yes, please.
Please state your name and spell your first and last name for the court reporter.
Allison Jean, Allison Jean.
And Ms. John, where are you from?
I'm from St. Lucia
And how long have you been in St. Lucia?
all my life.
What do you do in St. Lucia?
I'm the Chief Executive Officer for the National Utilities Regulatory Commission. It's the commission that regulates water and energy in St. Lucia.
Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury a little bit about your family dynamics, your family makeup?
Well, I came from a single-parent family. My mom raised three of us. I'm the eldest of the three. I got married at the age of 23, and I've been married for 30 years now. That's the most difficult part to say, but I have my daughter, Elisa. I had her before I was married. And then I had Botham 10 years later, and then Brandt.
How old is Alyssa?
Alyssa is 37.
And when was Botham's birthday?
Botham's birthday was this past Sunday.
And how old would have Botham been?
He would have been 28 years old.
And how old is Brent?
Brandt is 18.
And tell the ladies and gentlemen about your husband.
My husband and I have been married for 30 years. That's the only husband I know. We are Christians. We worship at the Church of Christ in St. Lucia. So we have a simple life, one of faith, and that's how we raise our children in the church.
Let's talk a little bit about that. Let's spend some time talking about Botham. Can you tell them what type of student was Botham?
Botham went to elementary school in St. Lucia. At the age of 11, there's an examination that is called the Common Entrance Examination. That is what allows students to go into high school. It's a competitive examination. And in the year that Botham sat that exam, he ranked 23rd on the island. There are about over 4,000 students who write that exam, and he was 23rd. So he was admitted to what is known in St. Lucia as the top high school. It was the St. Mary's College. During his 5 years at high school, Botham was very active. He was president of his schoolhouse. He was also the leader for several little clubs, several groups. He started a choir because he loved to sing, so he got one of his teachers to commence a choir, and he was the one leading in that choir.
Was that in high school where he got the teacher to start a choir because he wanted to sing?
That's right.
You know, rap folks.
Yes.
Ms. John, I'm going to show you some photos. And I'm showing you it's been marked for evidence as State's Exhibit 325, 326, 327, 328, and 329. And are these photos, or some of the photos of your son Botham?
Yes, they are.
Okay. And do you think these photos would help the jury to understand your testimony as you're discussing your son?
Yes, they will.
Say it's trigger 325, 326, 327, 328, and 329 to the bench of the motion.
No objection.
They're all admitted. You may publish them at your discretion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Ms. John, who is that handsome young man right there?
That's my son. That's Botham.
And if you could, pull that microphone just a little bit closer to you, so the court reporter as well as ladies and gentlemen can hear you, okay? Ms. John, do you recall when this photo was taken?
Yes, this photo was taken when Botham was vying for president of the school council at the Harding University.
We're going to come back and talk a little bit about that, okay? And State's Exhibit 326. Who was that?
Yeah, that's Botham. It was at my retirement function, which the staff had for me. It was a surprise for me, but Botham was there. I worked in the public service of St. Lucia for 32 years, and I retired as permanent secretary in the Department of Infrastructure. And this is the function that Botham attended.
Now, you said that you're retired, but we started off talking about you're working again. How did that come about?
That's right. I left the public service very early, and I now with the regulator, which is a statutory organization, so it's not a full-fledged public sector employment.
In State's 327.
This is at Botham's high school graduation, and he's with his grandmother. The trophy that he has in his hand was awarded to him, and it's called the Spirit of St. Mary's Trophy. This is the trophy that is given to the top student, and it's given for discipline, for dedication, for academic excellence, and for active involvement in extracurricular activities.
And you say that this is his grandmother. Is she in court today?
Yes, she is.
And I'm going to skip to State 329.
That's Botham with his little brother Brant. We were in the Cayman Islands at the time. We were on vacation, and we were at a turtle farm. So that was Botham in the background and Brant in yellow.
And then State's Exhibit 328.
Yeah, so that's a photo of Botham with my daughter Lisa and her husband Brant, and at the time her two boys. Her two boys are my two grandsons. She now has 3 sons.
Now let's talk a bit about the age difference between Alyssa, Botham, and Brant. What's the approximate age difference between the 3?
It's about 10 years.
And how did Botham and Alyssa and Brant interact with that age difference apart?
Yeah, Botham was my middle child. And so he brought Alyssa and Brand together because Alyssa and Brand are 20 years apart. So I always referred to him as the glue to my 3 kids because he was able to relate to Alyssa and bring Alyssa to Brand and vice versa. But Botham was also was this take charge type of person. So he was always giving advice, both to Alyssa and to Brand. Although he was the younger brother, but he treated her like he was the older brother. And it was more so because he was bigger and taller than her. So he assumed the role of big brother, although she was 10 years older than him.
After high school, what was Botham's decision to do?
Botham, after high school, he also did 2 additional years in St. Lucia, and he also worked afterwards at a manufacturing company in St. Lucia. But his desire was to go to university in order to study accounting. My preference was for him to study accounting in the West Indies, which is close to where we lived. However, Botham was a very headstrong child, and he preferred to study at Harding University, which was in Searcy, Arkansas. And the primary reason he said to me was it was a Christian university, it was related to the Church of Christ, and he would have gotten an opportunity to continue his singing while he was at university.
When Botham decided to go to Harding University, had Alyssa already left St. Lucia?
Yes, Alyssa left St. Lucia about 18 or 19 years ago. So she was already in the United States, and she was a citizen of the United States then. So Botham felt that he wanted also to be closer to his sister. So that was another reason that he chose Harding University as opposed to a university in the West Indies.
Was he always good with math and numbers?
He was very good. He was good with math, good with accounting, although I wanted him to do engineering. But he just had his head made up, and he really wanted to do accounting.
So let's tell the ladies and gentlemen about when you took Botham to Harding. How was that experience?
Yes, we visited Harding in April of 2011, I believe. It was a weekend that they had Spring Sing, which was a sort of a concert. And from the time we got to Harding University, from the time we got to the campus, Botham looked like he was already admitted. So he would just leave me seated somewhere and say, "Mommy, I'll be back." And he was just all over the university. He had already made friends on that, just that weekend. And when I saw the way he behaved on the campus, in my mind, I'm saying I cannot disappoint him. I have to find some way of getting him to Harding, although at the time I felt that Harding was very expensive. Coming from the Caribbean, we do not have United States dollars. We have Eastern Caribbean dollars, which are $2.70 to a US dollar. So it would be expensive to be able to pay in US dollars. But seeing how elated he was, I had no choice but to accept that he would go to Harding.
So as a parent, you made it possible to let your child go to the university you wanted to.
That's correct.
Can I approach y'all? Showing you State's Exhibit 333, 334, and 335.
Right.
Do you recognize those photos?
Yes, I do.
And will these photos aid you in further discussing Botham at Harding?
Oh, yes.
State, hindering to defense 333, 334.
No objection.
They're admitted, I'm sorry.
Permission to publish, Your Honor?
Yes.
Now, Ms. Jean, let's talk a little bit about Botham's time at Harding. What type of activities did he do while at Harding?
In addition to his academic studies, he was involved in the Good News Choir. It was a Good News Singers, which is a choir that go all over the United States singing. He was also, I think, an intern or something at the Rock House. He was involved in the youth ministry. So he did a lot of missionary type work, involved in sometimes doing preaching, singing. He also told me that he was part of a group called Bisons for Christ, and they went to several places helping people, helping the elderly, going out and clean people's homes. Because of his IT background, he assisted elderly people in setting up their computers. He told me he had set up a computer for an elderly couple so that they could have Skype contact with their children. So he did a lot of these activities.
Ms. John, you mentioned the Rock House. What is the Rock House?
The Rock House, I believe, is an organization that does outreach work. So they help other students. And he was one of those who was supposed to be encouraging the students to attend worship. So that was one of the responsibilities he was given. He was also part of the rugby team at Harding.
What was that?
Rugby, the game rugby,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, I'm going to show you what's been admitted as State's Exhibit 333. We see Botham.
Yes.
Okay. And he has on the shirt that says college.
Yes.
You talked about him going on mission trips. Is this a picture from one of his mission trips?
Yes, this is a trip that all the others who are in the photograph are students with two adults from Harding. So he brought these students to St. Lucia. The background is the Boys Training Center, which is a center for delinquent boys in St. Lucia. And when he brought brought his fellow students and that team to St. Lucia, they concentrated on reaching out to these delinquent boys, together with an orphanage that they visited and many other institutions, but mostly institutions that had people who were at risk in some way. So the elderly home, the elderly folks' home, the orphanage, and delinquent boys. He concentrated a lot on serving these people.
How many years did Botham and his classmates from Harding come back to St. Lucia to do mission trips?
There's so many.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am. How many years did Botham and his classmates from Harding come to St. Lucia to do mission trips? Do you recall?
There are many, because he started 1 year after he went to Harding University, so that's 2012. And since then, they have come every year. 1 year they came twice. So there seem to have been about 7 or more trips to St. Lucia.
And then it states Exhibit 334. Is that just another group of, a picture of the group that was in St. Lucia?
Yes, I'm not sure if it's the same year of the first photo, but that's a group of the students that came to St. Lucia, and they're at a sky ride park. So he took them.
Is it zip lining?
Zip lining, that's right.
And then State's Exhibit 335.
Yes, that's the group that came in the spring. And Botham, together with Jake, the one with the white shirt on the opposite end of Botham, led, yes, the two of them led that team that year. The two adults were not there during that time. And that's a photograph taken in front of the church that we worship at in St. Lucia.
Commissioner Cochiano?
Yes.
I'm showing you what's been marked for identification purposes. States Exhibit 330, 331, and 332. And are these photos of both of them?
Yes.
Sir?
Yes.
And will they aid the jury in understanding your testimony as you're giving?
Oh, yes.
States tendering to defense 330, 331, and 332.
No objection, Your Honor.
They're admitted.
Commissioner Polishon?
Yes.
I'm showing you Ms. John, States Exhibit 332. When was this photo taken?
I think this photo was taken about 2 years ago. Might be 2017, but I know for sure it was taken in Jamaica, where Botham attended the annual Caribbean Lectureship of Churches of Christ. So he was a song leader, and every year the Churches of Christ meet in a different Caribbean island, and this time it was in Jamaica.
And so you said he was a song leader. Explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what his roles and responsibility were as a song leader for the conference.
Yes, so because Botham sang very well, he was placed as one of the people who would be leading the congregation in singing. So that Caribbean lectureship had members of Churches of Christ all over the Caribbean, the United States, in some cases England. Many people attend that lectureship. So Botham was selected for many years to be on the program for that lectureship.
And I'm showing you what's been marked as States Exhibit 330. Do you recall this photo?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about States Exhibit 330 and States Exhibit 331.
The first one with the lady is, again, one of the people that Botham reached out to in the community. Botham found out that this lady's birthday was on the same date with mine. That was March 11th. So he went to visit her with his friends, and he just went to sing with her and just made her happy. There's another photo, that has a cake. So he brought her a cake, and he just stayed the afternoon just singing with the group.
And prior to doing the mission work, had he known her in the past?
No. He just walked around the community and he just reached out to the people who he thought needed help. So he cleaned her backyard, and then they just sat there and he just sang with her.
have a passion for helping others.
That's right. This is actually a blind man and another person that he went to visit. And what he's doing there is singing to him.
And this is also on the island of St. Lucia?
It's in St. Lucia, yes.
Now, Ms. John, I want to talk a little bit about the day that you were notified that Botham was no longer with us. Do you recall where you were?
I was in New York with my daughter at 12:30 a.m. on September 7th when she came to inform me that she had gotten a call and that somebody told her that Botham was shot and that he died. Thank you.
And when you received that news, Ms. John, how has your life been since that particular day?
My life has not been the same. It's just been like a roller coaster. I cannot sleep. I cannot eat. It's just been the most terrible time for me. I'm not able to work, but I just try to busy myself just to see if it will get out of my head. But it's been very, very, very difficult.
And so, since this incident has occurred, you haven't been able to go back to work?
I went back to work in January of this year, but it's very, very difficult. I've been sick often, and I have to try to keep the family together because everybody's in pain. I've had to seek counseling every Tuesday. I have to get a therapist to come in and help. And I try to pray and fast and do all sorts of things just to help me get by.
What about Grant? How was the relationship between Botham and Grant before September 6th of 2018?
Botham and Brant had a very good relationship. Actually, Brant spent the summer of 2017 with Botham in his apartment here in Dallas. And when Brant was leaving, Botham called, crying because he didn't want Brant to leave. He felt that Brant spent 3 weeks with him, and the first week he said he had a lot of work to do, and he really regretted that he didn't spend enough time with Brant, and he really wanted him to stay.
And how is Grant processing?
I'm very concerned about him because he's just been very, very quiet. In the beginning, he was just punching down all the walls and everything, but now he's gotten quiet.
And have you been able to get help or counseling for Grant?
He's been doing some counseling, but he doesn't speak much. So I'm not sure what's going through his mind.
What about your husband? How was the relationship between Botham and your husband?
Botham again felt that he was the one to give advice. So his dad preaches as well, and he would call his dad, especially on a Sunday, and they would go over the sermon, and he would always tell his dad, like, why didn't you do the sermon this way? Why didn't you look at it from that way? And why did you use that? Didn't you use that scripture? And why didn't you? So they were very close. We had a very, very close family. Very, very close. Both of them once surprised me for Mother's Day. I didn't know he was coming. I was sleeping that Sunday afternoon and I heard his voice. He used to call me Gigi. That was short for Governor General. He said I was his Governor General. And I was sleeping and I heard Gigi. And I'm like, but that's Botham's voice, but maybe I'm dreaming. So I closed my eyes again. And he just came and lay down on me on the bed. He flew all the way from Arkansas at the time, and he came to St. Lucia to surprise me.
With him in Arkansas, and at one point, Alyssa was it North Carolina?
North Carolina.
How did you keep the family together when they were so far apart?
I always made it my duty to spend time with all of my children. So both of them, Alisa was in the US, and I always spent Christmas with Alisa. And both of them came for the summer. So at some point over Christmas, both of them would leave Arkansas and come to North Carolina, so we all would be together. So I would take Brand up, and we all would be together, either in New York or in Arkansas.
At one point, Botham took an internship with PwC. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Did he tell you about that process and how he got into that job?
Yes.
Can you share that information with the jury?
In 2015, both came to Dallas to have an interview for that internship. Both of them called me crying, and I thought there was something wrong, and he said, Mom, I made it for the internship. There were 12 people interviewed, and I think they were going to be selecting 6. So he was very nervous. He didn't think that he would have made it. And he was selected for the internship at PwC. And during the time he was on the internship, it was supposed to be for 6 weeks. But he was offered an extension for 6 months. And he was still studying at Harding then. So he was offered an extension to 6 months, and also gotten an offer of employment to start in June or July of the following year. So he spent 6 months here in Dallas from June until December. He returned to Harding in January, graduated in May, and then came straight back to Dallas in June of 2016.
Did you ever come to Dallas to visit Botham?
Yes, I did in December of 2016, I came to visit Dallas. I came to visit Botham with my mom and my nephew, and we spent 3 weeks with him during Christmas time.
And during that time, did he have to work as well?
Yes. He was working in Austin. He would travel to Austin on a Sunday and return on a Thursday or Friday. So the first week that we spent with him, he took us to Austin. And he put us up at one hotel and he stayed at another hotel. He said it was because he didn't want us to disturb him because he was still at work. So he didn't mix business with pleasure. He stayed at one hotel and he said, "Y'all are on vacation, I'm not." So, but we had a good time with him.
Ms. John, when was the last time that you saw Botham before he passed away on September 6th of 2018?
I saw Botham on the 2nd, 3rd, I think it was the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of February in 2018. I was in New York, and Botham came across to New York to visit me. His dad was there as well, so that was the last time we saw him.
And how was that visit?
Beautiful. Again, he believed he surprised me.
You knew he was coming.
Yeah. So, but he told everybody not to tell me. But a little bird told me. So.
And when was the last time you spoke with him on the phone?
I spoke with him on September 5th. That was the day before. He called about 9:30 in the evening. So that's when we last spoke.
And this past Sunday was his birthday?
Yes, September 29th.
What have you done to try to cherish his name and the things that he was most fond of?
Yeah. All the things that Botham started, his outreach to the delinquent boys, the orphanage, the elderly home. We've started a foundation in his name, the Bothamshire Foundation. And on Sunday, we launched the foundation at a gala event here in Dallas. We expect out of that foundation to reach out to other people. And in addition to these institutions, we've added the outreach to victims like ourselves, to lend support to them so that they can cushion the pain that we're going through. So that, we could help them in whatever way.
And on Sunday, Mrs. John, how old would have Botham have been?
He would have been 28 years old.
So in his short 28 years, he dedicated himself to helping others?
Actually, 26 years he did that.
26 years, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Because he died a few days before his 27th birthday.
I have no questions.
Unless you be excused.
No objection.
Thank you very much, Ms. John.
State will call Carrie Ray.
Yes, I do.
Thank you very much.
You may proceed.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Ray, would you please introduce yourself to the jury by your first and last name?
Kerry Ray,
And would you please spell it for the court reporter?
Kerry, last name Ray, Ray.
And Mr. Ray, how did you know Mr. Jean?
I was his coach, which is basically his direct boss, and then he also worked on my engagement.
Okay, and now I see you speak a little fast, and so the
Okay.
court reporter has to take down everything that you say, so if
Right.
you would just slow down a little bit when you speak.
Sure.
Now, you say so you were his coach, and where did you coach him at?
So the coach is essentially, we have a line of reporting. So coach is the first level of reporting. So I coached him on just work-related matters or anything that he wanted to talk about.
So I hear you say work-related matters. Did you work with Mr. Jean?
I did.
And please tell the jurors where you guys worked.
PricewaterhouseCoopers.
And Mr. Ray, what do you do for PricewaterhouseCoopers?
I am a senior manager in our risk assurance practice. So we work on, basically work on controls and compliance.
And what did Mr. Jean do at PricewaterhouseCoopers?
He did the same. He was an associate.
And Mr. Ray, when did you first meet Mr. Jean?
I met Bo during his internship, which would have been about 4 or 5 years ago.
And what stood out to you about Bo?
Mostly his attitude. Just very nice, personable, lit up a room. He got along with everybody. He was one of those guys when he started his internship, we immediately felt comfortable with him.
And so you immediately felt comfortable. Was it a feeling that we have to have this guy?
Oh, well, for me it was, definitely.
And why? Please explain to the jury why you felt that way.
Yeah, well, I mean, what we do is very relationship focused, so we work with a lot of different people. And not only was he very personable, he was also very sharp.
And what do you mean by very sharp? Because
He was-
and maybe some of the jurors, what exactly do you do at PricewaterhouseCoopers?
I mean, we do a lot of different things. So when I say he was sharp, he's very intelligent. So if you just think about an auditor. I mean, I know most of you guys have heard that term. We're an auditor, just not, we focus on a bunch of different regulatory and compliance matters. So it's a field where you need to use your brain a lot, and you need to solve problems. And he was very good at solving problems as well as working with the client.
And so you said that you were his coach. What were you helping to coach him on?
All right. So everybody has a coach. I have a coach, but it's basically just you're developing. I've got 3 or 4 of them, and you develop them through their career. So you want to encourage things that they do very well, and then you want to help them work on the things that they don't do so well.
And was Bo the sort of man or employee that did things well?
He did things very well.
Was he receptive to criticism if there was something that he might need to work on?
Very, to a fault, I would say. He was always looking to improve himself.
Always looking to improve himself. Would you say was he a go-getter?
Oh, definitely. He always wanted to do more.
And you met him in the internship process, so at some point in time there was an offer for employment extended to Bo. Would you please explain to the jurors how that process and discussion came about?
Yeah, so I mean, you do an internship, depending on what university or program you're in, determines when you do your internship. In his case, it was his junior year. So yeah, he received an offer, soon after or before his internship ended. So in many cases, we'll offer a full-term employment at the end of the internship.
And is employment with PricewaterhouseCoopers competitive, would you say?
Oh, very.
What were, I guess, around the office, if you could help explain, what was Bo's typical day like, if there is such a typical day at PricewaterhouseCoopers?
So there aren't a lot of typical days. I guess, but a general day would be, so we go through different phases, but, a typical day might be he shows up to the office or to the client site, give me or whoever he's working for on the engagement an update, and then for the rest of the day he'll be working, through his engagement. So he'll be meeting with clients and completing his deliverables so that we can deliver our work.
And what was Bo's specialty?
So I mean, Bo had he was strong in the IT space. So
What?
in the IT, so information technology space.
Okay.
So he was very strong with applications and systems, and that's where he shined.
And what about the point of sales?
Yeah. So and that's part of the IT space. But yeah, so there are certain engagements where we work on different applications. A POS system may be one of them, but that's definitely an area where I would look to him for his expertise.
And would you say Bo made an impact on PricewaterhouseCoopers and specifically the Dallas location?
Yes and yes. I mean, his impact on the Dallas location was outsized, right? So, I mean, everybody knew. I mean, a lot of people knew Bo, and anyone who knew Bo had a very high opinion of Bo.
It's just because of the type of man he was.
It was the type of person he was, just his almost his aura. I mean, when he went to a meeting or he joined your group or whatever it was, you knew Bo. He was just big personality, nice person, big smile. Never really had a bad thing to say about anybody. That's the kind of person he was.
And how has his passing impacted you and your fellow coworkers at PricewaterhouseCoopers?
It's been rough. So, I mean, I used to see or talk to Bo on a daily basis for, 3 years. I knew him. I mean, our group has had a very difficult time coming to terms.
And what do you mean by that?
It's just not seeing him on a daily basis, or not having that guy to lift you up. I mean, it's been tough.
And so did he provide, you said lift you up, so I'm guessing was Bo also a sense of comfort and support?
For me and for many others, definitely.
What, I guess, when was the last time you saw Bo?
Probably. I mean, the week he died, I saw him that week, or the week before. So I was at a conference the week he died, but we spoke every day while I was away. That's just that was our relationship. So he worked on my engagement. We spoke by phone, text, emails, and I just remember sending him a few messages on the plane while I was getting ready to take off that night, and I know by the time I landed, he was no longer with us.
Was Bo, I know you said, so I'm guessing work seems very important to him. Was he a person that finished his tasks by the time that he needed them done?
Yes. Bo is a perfectionist.
He's a perfectionist?
He's a perfectionist. So Bo, he wanted everything to be perfect. So, I mean, that was just personality. He wanted it done right. He wanted it done on time. And, I didn't worry about anything that Bo was working on.
Did you see a bright and long future for him at PricewaterhouseCoopers?
100%. So I paid a lot of special attention to him. And I target several people in the firm that I want to make sure I work with and develop, and he was definitely number one on that list because I knew he had whatever it is he wanted to do in the long term, whether it was with PwC or not, that he was going to be excellent at it.
And he was going to be excellent at it.
Yeah.
What would you say his potential was like?
Unlimited. He was, yeah, I mean, he could write his own check, I think. He had his own path to go.
I'll pass the witness.
No question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ray. You may be excused.
No objection from the state.
Oh,
The state will call Robert Watson.
swear or affirm the testimony you will give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you. Make yourself comfortable.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Watson. Sergeant Watson, you look a little different today.
Yes, ma'am.
But you are in fact the same Robert Watson that testified for this jury last week.
Yes, ma'am.
And Sergeant Watson, we called you back because you were the defendant's sergeant for the CRT team, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And I guess that will put you in sort of an immediate supervisor position.
Yes, ma'am.
And I brought you back because I wanted to ask you, in the years that you spent with as the defendant's supervisor and sergeant over CRT, did there come a time where you made an internal affairs affair referral based on some actions taken by the defendant?
Yes, ma'am.
And would you please explain those to the jury?
It was regarding an incident where Ms. Guyger had an individual in custody, and she was by herself, and the individual got away. He got up and ran away. She called for assistance, and other officers showed up to help her.
And this incident that you're referring to, did this occur in August of 2018?
That sounds about right.
Okay. And so you said it was a situation in which a individual got away. Was this a handcuffed prisoner?
Yes, ma'am.
And so did this handcuffed prisoner escape away from the defendant?
Yes, ma'am.
And did the defendant notify the immediate supervisor?
A supervisor was on scene. He wasn't made aware that it was a handcuffed prisoner.
He was not made aware?
Yes, ma'am.
And when were you notified that a handcuffed prisoner had escaped from the defendant?
Several hours after that incident had occurred.
And based off of, at the point in time when you learned of it, you felt that this was some information that you needed to make a referral to the Internal Affairs Division?
Yes, ma'am.
And that this was something more than just a situation that you could do verbal counseling for?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness.
Sergeant Watson, how long did you supervise Ms. Guyger?
Whenever she started the CRT team, I was a supervisor then.
Okay. And overall, during the time that you supervised her, was she a defendable officer?
Yes, she was.
Did she work hard?
Absolutely.
Did she come into contact with numerous violent felons on the CRT team?
Yes, sir.
Did you trust her as far as her character with regard to being on your team?
Yes, sir.
With regard to this incident, there was a suspect that had been arrested. You know what the suspect was arrested for?
I believe he had illegal narcotics on him, if I recall right.
And there was no indications or allegations that Ms. Guyger used any inappropriate force with this suspect, correct?
No, sir.
The suspect was handcuffed, and somebody let their guard down for a minute. And if you let your guard down, I mean for a second, then this is what can happen. The guy ran off while handcuffed, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, there was efforts made to immediately find this guy, correct? The suspect?
Yes.
And was that what everybody's immediate attention was on?
Yes, sir.
And a supervisor was out there, correct?
Yes.
And the supervisor, I guess, was informed that a suspect had escaped, correct?
Yes.
But the supervisor wasn't notified with the specific words that a handcuffed prisoner had escaped, correct?
Yes, sir.
And any time you have a suspect escape, especially handcuffed, you're going to want as a supervisor, it's your duty to inform the chain of command by requesting further investigation, correct?
Yes, sir.
And it's a not just for disciplinary purposes, but also for training purposes, correct?
Yes, sir.
Their officers are on a daily basis, a number of interactions with suspects and prisoners, and even though Ms. Guyger has dealt with numerous violent felons, your concern was that, okay, just we can't let our guard down for any second, and there needs to be clear communication afterwards. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
Is this the type of violation in and of itself that would lead to serious discipline?
Not that I've ever seen, sir.
I'll pass the witness.
Briefly, Your Honor. Sergeant Watson, were you on duty that day?
I was not.
Where were you? Were you at?
I was on a day off, yes, ma'am.
Okay. But there was an on-duty supervisor, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And the defendant did not notify that on-duty supervisor.
True.
She notified you, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you said you found out several hours later?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a mechanism in place to where if there, we'll strike that. When you returned to duty, why did you feel it was important to make the referral instead of just doing verbal counseling?
Because we're required to notify the chain of command when a prisoner escapes custody.
And a prisoner escaping custody, especially one handcuffed, isn't that, that's a serious situation that the chain of command as well as the safety of the public need to be aware of. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness.
No further.
May he be excused?
No objection from the state, Your Honor.
No objection.
Thank you very much, Sergeant.
They called Alyssa Finley.
Sorry, who's that?
Alyssa Finley?
Make yourself comfortable, Ms. Finley. You're still under oath.
Yes. Ms. Finley, you're the same Ms. Finley that testified earlier this week in trial, is that correct? Or
Yes.
last week, I'm sorry.
Yes, I am.
Tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury about your relationship or what you have observed with your parents since your brother has passed.
I know my mom, well, my entire family just hasn't been the same. My mother, she's different. She cries a lot. Most of the time she would call me. We try our best to comfort each other, but it's really hard because sometimes she calls me on a bad day where I'm low. For Bertram, I would describe him as just a shell, because it's like the light behind his eyes are off. He's not the same.
When you say he's not the same, his attitude and his demeanor's not the same?
Yes, he has always been like Botham, a bubbly type of person, and he's not that way anymore. Sometimes you speak with him and I don't even know if he hears.
And you currently live in New York, correct?
I do.
Has this caused you to go home and check on your parents more often?
I call them more often. Yeah, I make it my duty to call my mom or text her at least, every day, a few times a day, because I know that was always a concern for her with both them to always have contact. So again, even though I'm low, I would still make it my duty to reach out to her, just so that she knows that I'm okay.
And how has this affected your younger brother, Brent?
Brent is another shell. He has always been a quiet person, but even now he's even more quiet. I know Botham and I, we've had conversations about Brant, about, bringing him out of his shell. When Botham visited Brant, my mom spoke of, one time Botham went into his car and he called me crying, like, Brant doesn't want to do anything with me, and he felt like he let Brant down because he left. So they didn't get more of an opportunity to bond. So he was very emotional about that. And so I don't know. I'm worried about Brent.
Tell the jury a little bit more about your relationship with both of your children. You have 3 boys, correct?
I have 3 boys.
And what are their ages?
14, 11, and 4.
And did they call him Uncle Bo?
They called him Botham. He tried to demand that they call him Uncle, but he was Botham.
How are they processing life without Botham?
When I told them what happened, it was the 7th. It was a Friday. They just went back to school. School started the 6th in New York. And every Friday they have a half day. So when they got home, I made them sit down and I told them what happened. Jaden, he's a lot like Brant, an introvert. So he cried, but his way of coping is every time Botham came to New York, he would leave some item of clothing for Jaden. So Jaden would wear, even though it's way too big for him, he would still wear it. His hoodies, T-shirts, he would wear them. Jareem, he's 11. Jareem, now he is scared of police officers. One time I picked them up from school and he came running scared, and I was scared because I thought something was wrong with him, and he came into the car and like, what's going on? And he said he just saw a police officer, and that frightened him. Jordan, if he walks by a photograph of Botham, he would say, oh, there's Botham, because Botham always used to sing with him. Jordan likes to sing, even though he's 4, and Botham would always sing with him. So.
How often would Botham come to New York to visit you?
Anytime he got the opportunity. And it would be for the weirdest reasons. He always wanted a reason to come to New York because he loved New York. When I closed on my house, September 2017, that was a reason. So he came, and I spent his birthday with him. He would come for Christmas, Thanksgiving. Any holiday, we tried to spend it together.
And we heard your mom talk about how Botham thought he was the big brother.
Yes.
Would you say that you spoiled him?
I did. I think so. I would say I'm overprotective when it comes to my family, and Botham, I treated him like one of my boys, one of my children. So when he was attending Harding, he would call in the middle of the night for me to order a pizza for him and have it delivered to the dorm. So I would do it. If he wanted a new phone, he would call me. I'm like, fine, I will give it to him. So, yeah.
And in fact, he was on your cell phone plan until he got a real job?
For a while, up until it was, 2018. He tried to convince me to add him back to it.
But he was also very generous with you as well.
He really was. When I closed on my house and he came on his birthday, 2017, he asked me to take him to Best Buy, so I did. and it was for him to buy me a TV as a housewarming on his birthday.
And was Botham very active in his church here in Dallas?
He was. He was really active. He was the song leader. He always made it into a role in the church. So he was a song leader. When he would visit in New York, and if we sang a new song that he didn't know, he would record it and go teach it back to Dallas West Church of Christ. So he was very active in the church. He also taught the youth ministry that was on Wednesday nights. He started that as well.
May I post it, Michelle?
Yes.
I'm showing you what's been marked for identification purposes of State's Exhibit 336 and 337. Do you recognize the people in 336?
Yes.
Okay. And 337 contains videos in which I showed you earlier, correct?
Yes.
And those videos of both them singing? Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And there's 336 and 337 to the bench for me to get to.
No objection to 336 and 337.
They're both admitted.
Commissioner Polishon?
Yes.
Alyssa, when was this photo taken?
This was in December 2012.
And who's in this photo?
Myself, Brent, and Botham.
And this is Miss Allison's
3 children.
3 children.
Yes.
And Brent looks very young on this photo.
Yes.
Thank you, Anna. And this is State's Exhibit 337, titled Bow Singing No. And I'm going to play Bow Singing 3. And so, those are the only two I'm published on.
Okay. Thank you.
Alyssa, I saw you put your head down.
Yes.
Are those hard to watch?
His voice.
It's hard to hear his voice.
Yes.
And when you hear his voice, what do you think? How does it make you feel?
That I want my brother back.
You can just hear that voice and talk to that voice. One last time.
Yeah. Like if I could just continue our conversation, our last conversation, just not let him hang up the phone.
I have no questions.
Mr. Reese.
No questions.
Thank you, Ms. Reese.
At this time, Your Honor, the state would like to offer and admit into evidence State's Exhibits number 356, 355, 354, 353. Junior Defense Counsel for protection.
Judge, we re-urged the objections made earlier as to exactly as articulated in front of the judge. We re-urged those objections to each exhibit at this time.
All right, those objections will be overruled.
Judge, permission to publish.
Yes, ma'am.
State's Exhibit number 353 contains an extraction of the defendant's cell phone, and these are text messages from January 15, 2018 at the MLK parade. Text message sent to the defendant asked, "Are you working this parade?" Other messages came in from the defendant. "Yes, grandsons are on the other side if she can get through." Other message, "Where's Justin's number? Can you ask him if he told this lady?" Another message, "Held on, I worked it for 10 years, I'm good." Another message that came into the defendant's cell phone says no. A message sent out said, "LOL, dang, yep, you deserve to have it off. Was hoping you were just to say hi, miss y'all." Message sent to the defendant, "Miss you too." Message sent to the defendant, "When does this end? LOL." Outgoing message from the defendant, "When MLK is dead, ... Oh wait, ... Incoming message says, "Ha." Outgoing message, "Geez, 2.5 hours on 3 hours of this." Incoming message, "You could have met one, LOL, next time." Incoming message, "Standing at Hardwood and MLK on opposite end." Outgoing message, "Just push them or spray with your pepper spray in that general area." State's Exhibit number 354. Again, an extraction report from the data from the defendant's cell phone. This is dated September 4th, 2018. Incoming message, "Do you know what you need? A German Shepherd." Incoming message, "I happen to have one for you." Incoming message, "She's not very smart, but she'll love you." Outgoing message, "LOL, is it your dog?" Incoming message, No, it's your dog." Incoming message, "Although she may be racist." Outgoing message, "I wish I could have one, but not in this apartment. Smaller than my old one."
.com. 70 years of connecting Texas. NBC5.
Hey, wake up to something good. Hey, yeah. Wake up to something good. NBC5. You start your day. Wake up and get connected. Yeah. Woo.
Get the free NBC DFW app for the most accurate forecasts in North Texas, plus important weather alerts and live S-band radar. Get the NBC DFW app, get the weather. It's like having a pocket full of weather experts. Sort of.
Brought to you by Levy & Son.
To connect North Texas to a visit by President Truman in 1948, NBC5 went live 2 days earlier than scheduled, becoming the first news station in Texas. 70 years of connecting Texas, NBC5.
And then just one more, Your Honor. The state will also like to offer this time State's Exhibit number 400, tendering to Defense Counsel for rejection.
Application processing unit records for reasons stated previously on the record. Your Honor, State's Exhibit 400 is the
information to publish.
Application processing unit records.
State's Exhibit number 400.
Stated previously on the record.
Under business records affidavit. Information to publish. Are records from the Dallas Police Department in their applicant process unit. State's Exhibit number 400. Under business records affidavit. Are records from the Dallas Police Department in their applicant process unit. Dated for August 23rd, 2012. The defendant's name, Amber Guyger. Preliminary interview for the Dallas Police Department. Page 2, section 3. Dated for August 23rd, 2012. The defendant's name, Amber Guyger. Preliminary interview for the Dallas Dallas Police Department. Question B, have you ever applied with any law enforcement agency, fire department, or related
Page
boards,
2,
section
Section
3, or Explorer? Yes or no? Circles yes. Question B, have you ever applied with any law enforcement agency, fire department, or related board, including cadet or Explorer? Denied, yes, police officer, or no? Approximately July 15, 2012, DFW Airport, date and position applied, approximately June 7, 2012, to the Fort Worth Police Department. Fort Worth, denied, police officer. Approximately July 15, 2012, DFW Airport, police officer. 400. Drug usage. A, have you ever smoked or experimented with marijuana? Circles
Page
yes.
4,
Number of occasions. 3. First used July 2009. 400. Last used June 20th, 2011. A, have you ever smoked or experimented with marijuana? Circles yes. Number of occasions. 3. First used July 2009. Last used June 20th, 2011. Last page, drug usage. Dates used, July 2009, last used, June 2011, first time, July 2009. Second question, total number of times
Last
used,
page,
3.
drug usage.
Ever
Dates
bought?
used?
No. July 2009,
Ever possessed more than
last
4
used,
ounces of marijuana?
No. June 2011,
Narrative.
first time, July 2009. Second question, total number of
First
times
tried
used,
right out of
3.
high school
with friends. Ever bought? No. Then in 2011,
Ever possessed more than 4 ounces of marijuana?
No. Friend's birthday. Narrative, again dated August 23rd, 2012. First tried right out of high school with friends. Then in 2011, two times, 2X, friend's birthday. Again dated August 23rd, 2012. State's Exhibit number 357. Taken from the defendant's Pinterest account. State's Exhibit number 357, and it states, I wear all black and remind you not to mess with me because I'm already dressed for your funeral. The bottom of State's 357, and it states, I wear all black to remind you not to mess with me, save to love I'm already dressed for your funeral. Yeah, I got the bottom of gun, a shovel, and gloves. If I were you, back the fuck up, Amber, and get out of me fucking ass. Smiley face, save to love to laugh. Comment, yeah, I got me a gun, a shovel, and gloves. Number 358, if I were you, back the fuck up, and get out of me fucking ass. States, stay low, go fast. State's Exhibit number 358. Kill first, die last. One shot, one kill, no luck. Inspiration. State's Exhibit number 359. States, people are so ungrateful. No one ever thanks me for having the patience not to kill them. At the bottom of State's Exhibit number 359, Amber, smiley face, save the love to laugh, comment, grateful minion.
Yes.
start at 9:30, but remember the doors open if you want to get in line, whatever you need to do. But